to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring some of the top players from around the world. With $15,000 of prize money on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night.
Welcome everybody to another round of Hearthstone Fight Night at ESGN TV. My name is Dan Cho, and tonight begins another week of fun Hearthstone between Managrind and Team DogeHouse. Last week was a lot of fun. Take a look at some of the highlights.
No cards in deck. Absolutely crazy game there. Forsen going down.
We win 3-0 in the first match of the Fight Night, and yeah, pretty easy stuff.
Oh god, these are getting really big, these fatigues. And that is it. Darkwonyx gonna end up taking this series 3-1.
We have Nyx versus Reels.
Now, Nyx actually hasn't won a match yet at Fight Night. And it looks like Nyx is gonna get his first win at Fight Night. And it's gonna be 3-0 against Reels.
Artosis fought as hard as he could, but it wasn't enough. Jockey ties up the series overall 2-2. DogeHouse or Managrind? Managrind or DogeHouse? It's tied 2-2 in the overall series, so this will determine the overall winner of the series. DogeHouse draws the Rekros, and that'll be game.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the World of Warcraft series. Currently in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes, akin to the Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called constructed and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws. Now let's meet the players. From Team Managrind, Reels, Darkwonyx, Chucky, and Forsen. From Team DogeHouse, Nyx, Savish, Artosis, and Ecop. So here are the rules for Fight Night Hearthstone Edition. 8 players form 2 teams and battle it out 4v4. 2 team captains spin the heartless ESGN wheel, which will determine the matchups. Now the battle begins. In order to win, the player has to beat all 3 of his rivals' decks. After all the players have battled solo, it's time for the final ace match. All 4 players on each team unite in a grand showdown to find out who is the strongest. Ultimately, the stakes are high. Teams can win as much as $5,000 for crushing their opponents. If one team manages to go even further and clean sweep their opponents, the winners will receive a huge bonus reward of $5,000 on top.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week of Fight Night Hearthstone. I'm Frodan. I'm joined by Crip Parent on the castle desk. Welcome to the desk once again, Crip.
Yay.
So we're back here for another round between Team Managrind and DogeHouse. It's still Season 5, that's what we're calling it, but this time it's going to be a little bit different, Crip. Can you explain how the classes are different from the previous round?
Yeah, so basically, compared to the last set that we had against Liquid Value and Team DogeHouse, we have it so the players can select one of the classes they used in the first round again. So let's say if a player picked, I don't know, Mage, Hunter, Paladin, they can pick Mage again if they choose. And this is exclusive to the team, so if they pick Mage twice, no one else on the team can do that as well. And otherwise, the decks have to be different, so there should be some variety, especially considering the fact that we required all the players to send in their decks before either of the rounds.
Right.
So we shouldn't see any kind of copying action that we have in the past.
That's right. It's a little bit sharing a team decks, but other than that, they still understand it. But just like always in the Ace match, they can still build entirely new decks if they so desire.
Absolutely.
So that's the breakdown of the rules. Let's go to the wheel and determine who our first matchup will be. Hey everybody, I'm joined at the Wheel of RNG with Darkwonyx, the team captain of Managrind. It's week number 2. How prepared are you guys coming in this week?
We're well prepared, actually. We have news for deck lists, we have new strategies, and this time we're going to go much better.
I can't wait. Now we do have to spin. Who do you feel like is an appropriate opponent to start things off?
I would actually send in Artosis first. But yeah, that's my choice. In this
All
one.
right. Well, let's see if your control is as good as Artosis at the wheel. Take
Thank
your
you.
first spin. Artosis is not even looking at the wheel. He knows it might be him. Oh wait, is this really gonna happen? It's Artosis. You team captains are getting pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Artosis will be the first opponent, so thank you so much, Darkwonyx, and we'll see who he matches up against.
Thank you.
All right, team captain Artosis. You got called out by Darkwonyx, and he said, I'm gonna get Artosis, and he got it. Who are you gonna get this time?
I hope to get Reels. I respect him a lot, and if we play, at least one of us wins this week. So I think that would be good.
All right, well, go ahead and let's take our first spin. Will it be Reels? Artosis is so confident it's gonna be a Reels. Oh no! Instead, it's Darkwonyx, the team captain. So the leaders will lead their team to victory. One of them will win. Thank you, Artosis, and good luck in your match. All right, Darkwonyx versus Artosis, the battle of the team captains. Now, normally when people were watching Liquid Value versus DogeHouse and they saw Monk and Artosis, they kind of recognized maybe they weren't the top of their team in skill level, but people can argue Darkwonyx may be the best player on their team.
Well, they won 2 matches in the last season, and Darkwonyx ended up being one of those, and the rest of the team thinks he's up to the task, so yeah, that might be the case.
Taking a look at these deck lists, Crip, we won't talk about it exactly just yet, but just looking at the classes overall, some of these players did choose, or most of them chose to double up on a certain class. What did they choose here?
So Artosis decided to double up on Warlock, with Shaman and Druid being the new classes, and Darkwonyx doubled up on Warrior, with Shaman and Paladin being his other 2 classes. And overall, without going into the decks too much, it looks like some pretty standard stuff, but the matchups and the RNG should dictate a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool to see players like Darkwonyx choose Warrior again twice, because he's a player, a lot of people copied his Warrior control style when it was first starting to become popular back when everyone thought Warrior was an unusable class because they thought the hero power was pretty awful.
Well, it is pretty awful.
Well, I guess they realized that you can just drop a bunch of legendaries and pay to win.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Nah, I'm saying that facetiously, obviously. So we're gonna get ready for our first game and hear what the players have to say about each other.
Yeah, so I'm facing Artosis. Any ideas about him right now?
He's most likely gonna play Murlocs again, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
He's doubling in the Warlock class, so it's mostly gonna be Murlocs.
yeah, I don't think he changed his deck up. Like, it's not control for sure.
Yeah, and also he played Druid and Shaman. So I think he's just most likely going to play some standard things.
Yeah, I bet the Shaman deck is the same one that we've already seen, probably from Savage. So
Though Nyx played another Shaman, like with Organ Commander and stuff, so it might be that one as well. So
yeah, I bet he would have copied Savage's deck though, between the 2 of them. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna crush them. So I believe in Darkwonyx. So after pretty much crushing my team Managrind in the ace match, outsmarting them on every level, we are ready for Season 6. We're gonna dominate this, going for the 5-0 if possible. We have plenty of good decks lined up. We are ready.
I think Artosis vs Darkwonyx is a very interesting matchup. I think they're on par and they play mostly the same classes, so it will come down to some really interesting games.
Darkwonyx, I think these guys feel he's the best player on the team, so I'm glad that I can try to play against him first. I don't know. I think I have a decent chance here. We have really good decks from DogeHouse. I think our decks overall are better than theirs, so we'll see how it goes.
Stay tuned for more Fight Night.
Fight Night is awesome, and for winners.
When I'm not fapping to top deckin and reckon, I'm watching Fight Night.
Welcome back to Fight Night.
So the first classes that's going to be chosen for game number 1, Artosis has picked Shaman and Warrior for Darkwonyx.
Yeah, in this matchup, usually you got to give it to the Shaman because the Warrior, you focus on the weapons, you focus on the big creatures, and if you can get a bunch of totems out and just spam that taunt totem, it just takes so much away from the game. But it has to get to that point. Sometimes the game ends a little bit earlier than that.
And Crip, you're always saying the person that can win the first match will have a good opportunity to win the entire set. So you feel like Artosis might be favored. What are your predictions?
Well, yeah, Artosis has proved himself in the past sometimes, but more than just that, I got to give it to Team DogeHouse just because, despite perhaps the matchup between the players in this case, they have proven themselves that they always come out with a good lead, always with that first point.
Always win the first match.
They're 5 for 5 on the first match,
and most of the time they sweep it as well.
Yeah, and that's I think the most consistent statistics we've had on ESGN Fight Night is the first match being won by Team DogeHouse. So I'm just gonna go with that, despite anything else that may take place.
All right. Well, I'm gonna put my faith in Artosis as well, as game number 1 is about to begin. All right, the opening hands we have, Darkwonyx will be the one going first.
Yeah, Armorsmith is pretty good whenever you play against a deck that has a lot of small creatures that are like super annoying, but the Shaman is not really that. The Shaman thrives in the early game from just wasting time with totems and being very efficient at removing the opponent's early game creatures.
One of those cards that are also pretty vital in the mid game is also getting something like a Gadgetzon Auctioneer to be able to get a lot of draws, but Artosis isn't one just yet, right?
Yeah, the Gadgetzon is pretty big, but I don't think you need cards right away, and keeping a 5-drop in your opening hand is pretty risky. Artosis actually decides to drop the Pyromancer, which I think is a good play because the Warrior also has so much early game removal that, pretty much the only early game drop that you're going to see is almost certainly going to die. And we know that exactly to be the case because of the Fiery War Axe in the hand of Darkwonyx.
We have a turn 2 Nat Bagel incoming. As far as I can see, I don't really see anything else really coming out from Darkwonyx. And Nat Bagel, even Shaman doesn't have lots of answers. As much as the early game removals like Lightning Bolt, Rock Biter, or Shock.
Yeah, Shock is pretty much the closest thing to it.
Yeah.
Oh, Golden Bagel fishes.
Very nice. Good start.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrible card to get, but yeah, maybe it'll come in handy.
Yeah, we've seen pretty decent uses of it sometimes.
I don't know if we have on Fight Night. Have we?
Well, I was saying, I was trying to reference last week where you had the gamble between, I think it was Injured Blade Master and Ragnaros or something like that.
I don't even remember. Well, that was a really good totem. Totem up, get the spell damage, and then coin
4 damage?
Yep, coin the Lightning Bolt. Pagel still gets value though. I mean, he drew a card and he traded for the Lightning Bolt and the coin and the overload tempo.
That's right. And now he can put out the Frothing Berserker, and there's no way to really handle that immediately.
You totem. And you hope you don't get a 1/1.
No. That's good. Still, though, the Frothing Berserker killing off Totem will go to a 3-4, and then potentially 4-4 if he wants to deal with anything else.
Yeah, usually this type of matchup I think favors the Shaman, but if the Warrior can get a nice board out that the Shaman can't clear, you know, it's gonna go pretty well for the Warrior, I think. I believe Artosis has at least one Lightning Storm in his hand. Maybe actually had two, I'm not exactly sure, we'll see in a second. And that may give him the board reset he needs to take the game back in the mid game.
So what are some of the important cards you feel like Shaman really needs in this early game phase to establish? Because you're saying you want to stall out when you use their totems, but as we transition to the early mid game, what are the vital cards?
It's not so much about like cards themselves, it's answers. So neither deck really has that many early game creatures. So it's just a matter of keeping the board clear until the mid game when the Shaman tends to have better cards.
And we do have that one Lightning Storm. I think the other card you may have seen was been Feral Spirit.
Yeah, there's too many foils. It's something I'm not quite used to.
All the pretty graphics.
Yeah. So no great plays here.
What to do?
Everything's slightly inefficient.
Yeah. I think you Mana Tide, or you Hex the Yeti.
And what's so annoying is you Hex a Yeti, but there's still just also a big threat on the board as well.
Yeah, Artosis is probably fairly familiar with what he's playing against. He's playing against a Warrior deck that has quite a number of legendaries. To my count, that's 7. So using a Hex on a card like a Chillwind Yeti is
suboptimal.
Is a really big waste if it's going to lead to the late game. His hand is pretty good in the mid game, but I don't know if he can quite seal the game.
Yeah, it's tough. You want to start putting out damage, especially with cards like Wind Fury in the hand. You want to be able to add that burst, but there's just no real opportunity if you can't set up a board. But hexing the Yeti, is that all you can really do here? What other alternative plays do you have?
I don't know. Like, the idea is you might need the Wild Pyro Lightning Storm next turn, but if you do that and it hits 2 on the Frothing, you're in a lot of trouble.
That is true. You're going to power up a lot, especially with cards like Whirlwind in the hand of the Warrior.
Okay, well, not much to play for the Warrior here.
Well, you know, you can Axe up.
Yeah.
Just add some damage.
There's really not many small creatures that a Warrior has in this deck, as I mentioned, so you can just use an Axe to start clearing the totems, but I still feel that's kind of a waste. But if he is clued in, he would know that the Shaman deck does not run an Ooze, so he can just Axe here and not attack.
I strike.
Does he kill a totem, or does he go for face?
I think you kill the totem here.
I strike.
No? Okay. And armoring up is not really ever too bad in the early because you build up your shield slam.
So he goes for the Axe, no attack play. I think that is the correct call.
And it's still a tough position to even do Wild Pyro and Lightning Storm.
Yeah. You can't overload though. I think this might be a spot where you and I don't even know.
Totem pass?
Well, it would be like double totem. It'd be Mana Tide and then the other totem.
And meanwhile, the Frothing just gets stronger and stronger, and it's really, really scary.
The thing is, you can't Lightning Storm. You can only Lightning Storm with a Wild Pyro and take the 50-50, but then the Wild Pyro dies to the Axe. So it's just kind of bad all around.
Well, then and on the next turn, you can't use Fire Elemental. Although the Spell Power totems are upside in most cases. And Artosis opts to go for the Unbound instead.
Yep, it's a pretty decent play. More than likely, the Unbound will be attacked by the Frothing, which would then get Fire Elementaled. But Darkwonyx must see this.
Yeah.
So this is either Fire Elemental or Lightning Storm. We know it's both. But when you're approaching turn 6, I think you're more likely to think it's Fire Elemental, which is really punishing.
He does have another shield slam where you can opt to armor up and drop the Unbound, but do you feel like that's a waste?
It is kind of a waste, but given the fact that the Frothing is still alive, it might just be like way too much damage for Artosis to handle if the Frothing keeps staying alive. So yeah, he's gonna go for it. And here I might even attack, Totem with the weapon.
6-4.
Just get more damage into the face.
And Artosis has to deal with it somehow, but again, that 4 health world being pretty hard to deal with, and even having the little hexed frog. Hard for even the Argent commander to snipe it out.
I think here the correct play is to fire elemental down the frog, and then run into the frothing with the Argent commander.
I wonder.
But you're just gonna take more damage again next turn.
There's no way you can certainly kill the frothing. It's a 50-50 that fails miserably if you fail.
Miserably would be an understatement in my opinion, because we know again the cards that Darkwonyx has in his hand that can just easily push up.
If you do Wild Pyro Lightning Storm and you fail the coin flip, you're pretty much screwed. The Wild Pyro would hit 2 targets, and the Lightning Storm would hit another 2 targets, so the frothing would go up to 10 attack.
I would still even be really hesitant to even do that play, because again, you overload for 2, and next turn you can't drop your Fire Elemental or Argent.
Right.
Your follow-up plays are still pretty poor.
Right.
But Artosis, I think, doesn't want to take any more damage, because like you keep pointing out all the time, Shaman is just a really hard class to... When you're at that low health stage, it's really difficult.
I really think your Fire Elementaling the frog is the best play.
What to do?
But then it's just so hard, because then I even power up the frothing and you feel like you waste the 2 damage overkill.
I don't see a better play.
As opposed to, you think saving... Oh, well, actually hold that thought. You might drop the Feral Spirit instead. Just set up some line of defense. And then drop the Mana Tide. Okay.
Job done.
He's looking for answers outside of his hand then.
I mean, he's hoping to Lightning Storm next turn. I think he's gonna fall too far behind with this play.
Well, a turn 7 draw is a Ysera, so we have pretty good late game already, and that's kind of what the Warrior is. After the early mid game, you just start dropping these huge, big legendary creatures that just have such big advantage. Another Shield Slam could be dropped on the Wolf, and then just power up even more. That is one scary Berserker.
Yep. Yeah, you can't do much in this spot. I think he's gonna leave the Mana Tide. I think he might try to close out the game.
Because he also has the Grommash as well, so that's 10 damage plus the 2 you said with the axe. He could potentially KO very, very quickly here.
Yeah. He really doesn't want a Whirlwind here, though.
No, you gotta save that way to activate.
Axe armor, yeah. And you attack face. 8 damage is a lot right now.
This is massive. He's calculating something. You know, if you can kind of follow his very rapid mouse movement, what do you think he's thinking about?
We've seen this very rapid mouse movement a few times from Darkwonyx. We've even seen it when there was pretty much no decisions. So I think some of it is psychological.
I think he's also counting maybe like he's overloaded on mana. What can he have on mana on turn 5?
Yeah.
You know, the consequences of leaving the Mana Tide, he draws another card. And I guess figuring out, because turn 9, if he drops him to 16 health, he still has the 13 damage he can combine with his axe. I think he's just trying to do some math. All right, turn 7 here for Artosis. And it hasn't gotten much better, but...
I think it's time to flip that coin.
Yeah.
And if it fails, you lose the game.
If you fail, that's it. But
he needs to get lucky.
I feel like he could get it.
Does not get lucky.
Oh, no. Oh, man. And Artosis, I think that's really devastating. He's got...
Oh, he's dead.
Oh, that's it? Yeah, I forgot the Vile Pyro.
Like, even without the Grommash, he's dead.
Yeah. And it is. Artosis concedes.
Yep.
And you don't often see that all the time. A Control Warrior winning by turn 7 against the Shaman.
Yeah. Well, he needed turn 8 to end up killing him, but yeah, nonetheless, the game was over on turn 7.
There it is.
Well, Artosis looks crushed. He's so disoriented he can't even walk off stage.
He tripped over his headphones.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Man, what can you do?
Yeah.
Well, I think Darkwonyx played really well. There's a lot of pretty tough calls that I think he made correctly, and I think Artosis got a little bit of a tough spot The fact that he was so aggressive against the Peggle really cost them against the other creatures that followed.
Yeah, like you were saying, the tempo play fell really far behind, and the Peggles did end up drawing that card, even though the Brawl wasn't really that useful, or even the consequent cards.
Yeah.
But Artosis does drop the first game, but he can still make the comeback. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, hear the players' thoughts, and get to game number 2.
We'll be right back with Fight Night.